So, we're going to be talking about highly sensitive people and how we're going to be dealing with that, especially if you're dating or in a relationship. Hi everyone, my name is AskSindyKing. I am a relationship and dating coach for executive and high achievers. And today we have a very special guest, and I want to introduce you guys my special guest today. Her name is Debbie Grace. So she's the obstacle, challenge, unexpected opportunity that truly leads you to discover the higher calling. For Debbie Lynn Grace, the road of her purpose felt like an unconventional road and the path that she never envisioned herself. And now, each time she steps in her path makes her a perfect sense. And today, Debbie is 30 years in marketing expert, author of books and outrageous business growth, and contributing authors to 5 other business and personal development books, and international speaker and energy worker and intuitive as well. Over her 30 years, Debbie's program have impacted hundreds and thousands of people today, and throughout her online program and live events as well. She is blessed to show highly sensitive people that we're going to be talking about, and empathic and worldwide, and how to discover the energy that is blocked that prevents you from leading the life of purpose and authentically love and prosperity. So we're going to be talking about highly sensitive people and how we're going to be dealing with that, especially if you're dating or in a relationship. So if you're new to my channel, definitely I want you to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share. If you're highly sensitive, I want to know about what's going on and why you're so highly sensitive, and what you have done before and what's so frustrating about. And don't worry, we're going to cover it all today. And me and Debbie, we're going to get down right to it right away. So I'd like to welcome Debbie.
I'm great, Cindy. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be talking about highly sensitive people. And, it's a really interesting topic that we're going to be talking about. And I know that I want to dive right into it right away. So can you tell us a little bit more about your journey that has led you to do the work that you do today?
Sure. I knew I was different when I was growing up. I mean, I could tell that I was a little bit different than everybody around me, because when I was little and I'd be around people, I could sense some people weren't exactly safe. And it didn't mean like, and they could be smiling and be saying something nice, but something wasn't right. But as a kid, I didn't know what that meant. So it would make me emotional. And sometimes it would overwhelm me, and I'd start to cry, and I couldn't explain to my parents why I was crying. And I, as I was growing up, I started to be labeled too emotional, too sensitive, and because I couldn't articulate what was going on, but I definitely knew that I was different. And at that time, when you're kind of labeled too sensitive, and you realize that that's not good. Like, being different isn't necessarily good. Mm-hmm. So I learned to, try and not say anything about it. Then as I was getting older, when I could sense things and know things weren't around me, I tried to hide it as best as I could. But I didn't know how different I really was until later on in my life, when I was actually just starting out my business. And it was not long after I started my business that I went through a divorce. And if anybody's gone through a divorce listening to this, it's a very emotional and a traumatic kind of experience. And I had just started a consulting business, and I have to tell you, I woke up crying. I cried all day. I went to sleep crying. And all I could think of was, I just want to remember what it's like to be happy again. So my older sister, Lisa, was an energy worker and sort of an intuitive. And I was a left brain marketing analytical. I mean, I was just flat out business oriented, left brain analytical. I thought she was a little weird I thought she was a lot weird, and it was bad enough that I felt different. I thought she was even more different than me. And but she said something to me when I turned to her for support that I never thought she'd say. And she said to me, Debbie, it's time for you to learn what I do. I mean, you might as well have been speaking a different language to me, because I was so floored by that. I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I want to learn what you do? Because I'm a marketing consultant. And she said the magic words. And her magic words are, because it will help you heal. And at that point, all I wanted to know was I wanted to be healed. I wanted to be happy again. So I found myself privately in secret. Only my sister knew about this, and my best friend knew about this. By day, I was starting to build my marketing consulting business. And by night, I started to learn this form of energy work that she knew called flow, alignment, and connection. Now, it's just really simple terms. And in just simple terms, what it's the ability to track energy flow in any person or in any situation and identify where there's an energy block and learn how to dissolve that energy block. Well, again, I was barreling through thinking, this is insane that I'm doing this. And all I thought was, at some point, I'm going to be happy, right? Like, at some point, I'm learning this for a reason. I'm going to be happy. Well, something really interesting happened. It took about 1.5 years to go through this program, and I was doing it by night and on weekends and building my business. The other stuff was underground. And one day, and my business started to grow. It's crazy. Like, my marketing consulting business started to grow. And I started to get new clients, and I'd meet with them one-on-one, face-to-face. And one day, not long after I started doing this energy work, something crazy happened. And I'm sitting there across from a client, and I'm asking them, what are the challenges are you facing in your business, to help them? And they start to talk and tell me what's going on with them. And all of a sudden, this voice comes in my head. And it says, ask them what happened to them when they were 5, because they have a fear of blank. And it was really specific. And it said, that's what's stopping them from growing their business. Well, it had nothing to do with what they were saying to me. And at first, I'm having like almost an argument in my head going, okay, shut up. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to say something to that person about they were 5. This has nothing to do with their business. But it kept getting louder and louder. And it happened every time I was meeting with somebody. It was like this crazy voice got unleashed in my head. And finally, one day, I took a chance. And the client's talking, telling me their challenges in business. I'm hearing this voice telling me some very personal things about this person and what their fears were. And I opened up my mouth and I said, so I'm just curious. I sort of had this sense, a feeling about something. And I started to blurt out what I heard in my head, thinking, oh, this is not going to go well, right? And it was the first time it happened, like they stopped talking and their jaw dropped and they're like, how could you know that? And then the tears started. Doesn't matter, man or woman. It was crazy. And from then on, I thought, oh, I'm going to try this again. And then all of a sudden, they'd have such a massive release while talking with me that in many cases, and of course I gave them some business advice too, but it was crazy was that their business started to grow without them doing anything. Like, they had such a massive internal shift that their business would start to grow. Well, I wasn't about to tell anybody that I had discovered, not because I felt different before. You can imagine how I felt now. And I was definitely not going to say this out loud, that I have this new intuitive gift and I could tell where you've got energy blocks and what's going on with you. No way. So it became sort of my hidden secret, so to speak. And I thought, well, what's the harm? I mean, I'm helping people. They're having amazing results. I don't have to tell anybody who I am or what I know and what I'm doing. But I have to be honest, it became more and more uncomfortable for me. This journey, I have found over the years now in retrospect that hiding who you are is never going to work. It's just never going to work. Hiding the real you, because we have such judgment on who we are, because we think that it's bad, whoever we are. I'm intuitive, that's bad. I have this gift, that's bad. I'm sensitive, that's bad. There was so much judgment around that. And, I realized that was a really it was hard because I felt like I was hiding out. My business had grown. I had launched a book. Things were, I was speaking around the world. Business-wise, it was great, but I have to be honest, I started to feel very inauthentic. And one day I woke up and this voice came in my head and it said, go to your computer and turn it on. And it was 2007. And without any thought, I got out of bed, went to my computer, turned it on, and my fingers started to fly across the keyboard. And I was reading the screen while I'm typing. And out I typed an email to my subscriber list, which I had now built all over the world. And it said, I'm about to share my personal story for the first time ever in public. And I'm going to show you how to align with your soul, how to align with your universe. Now, mind you, I'd never used these words before to my following, and how to align your business. And there was a moment where I had my finger hovering over the send button. It was like something literally overtook my body. And I thought, oh dear God, this is the end of me. And I hit send. And I have to be honest, I would be lying if I didn't tell you I got sick to my stomach, because I thought, oh my God, I just announced that I'm about to go public. I had never done that. And so I did a 3-part webinar series that was complimentary. I had a lot of people, I had hundreds of people from all over the world registered for it. And I told my story, and it was a little bit more detailed than this. And I just did it. And then I hung up after that webinar. And I thought, this is it. This is it, God. You've done me in. Like, this is it. Like, I'm going to get flooded with emails saying, unsubscribe, you're a wacko, you're weird, all this stuff. And I did get flooded with emails, and I was petrified to open them up. But every single one said the same thing. Thank you for having the courage to tell the truth. Because I've been hiding out, and I've never had the courage to tell my story. And now I finally have the courage to do that. So it was then that my whole business and my life took a massive turn. And bit by bit, I started to really I made a commitment to the universe and said, okay, this is not the journey I thought I was going to take, but I'm willing to follow. You tell me where you want me to go, well, follow. And it's taken a lot of changes and transformations. I started to teach a lot more personal development until about 2015. The call came again, and it said, it's time to start talking about being highly sensitive. And I had been teaching the tools for highly sensitive people for years. In fact, for almost 20 years, I've been teaching the very tools I teach today, but I never talked about it in terms of, because you're sensitive, you need this. But it turns out my following was sensitive without, right? All these years, of course, my following were holistic healers and life coaches and speakers and authors and all these people that are highly sensitive, that gravitates towards that, towards those kinds of industries. And I taught a class, and I had such an overwhelming response that I realized there was a lot of need. And so since then, I have put, 700 or 800 people through a program for highly sensitive people. And now I have a commitment. I have a really commitment, because there are many times in life, Cindy, probably you've experienced this too, where the universe has said to you, put your finger on the send button. And you've been terrified. And in relationships, I can't think of anything more terrifying than revealing your true sense to somebody that you want to engage in intimacy. It feels like you're putting your finger on the send button and literally exposing yourself. And in a relationship, that's where you expose yourself the most, and it's the most terrifying. So that kind of brings you a little bit up to date, but I'm here to really support people in putting their finger and hitting that send button, and then giving them the tools that it makes it not only safe, but it allows them to be authentic in a way that's truly fulfilling and honoring and self-loving.
Wow, Debbie, that's such an inspiring story. And I'm so happy that you have the courage and to review. I know what that feels like. I've been there myself.
Yeah.
I've been in and out, divorcing Vedic astrology on and off. I wanted to get rid of it, but it just keeps coming back. There's a reason, right? We have to walk on the path that we have to do. So thank you so much for putting out your work out there. And I know what that feels like, being highly sensitive, because I'm highly sensitive myself. Yeah. So, and that being said, we want to talk about where why it can be tough to be highly sensitive, especially as a woman, to attract the kind of relationship she truly desire or want. Like, how that works, and what do you
Yeah,
think?
well, I think there's a couple of things that enter into play with people that are highly sensitive that, I have a lot of people that take my courses that until they hear me talk don't realize how sensitive they are because they've been hiding it and they just became the core of their normal way of being. And they hide behind it because they, like me, have been teased or bullied for most of their life for being too emotional, too sensitive. And again, where it comes into real play is, you want to engage, you want to put your heart out there, you want to find a life mate, you want to find a soulmate. But I find that people who have been challenged because of their sensitive nature, that don't know how to take care of themselves properly, because the way I take care of myself today is vastly different than before I discovered all these tools to really nourish my body, take care of myself, and and be able to get, like, literally thrive day by day, where my sensitivities don't become such an issue the way they used to. And so what I find is that women end up being sort of in three different modes to really sort of navigate their sensitivity. The first mode is being the overgiver, because if you're giving, right, people will like you, they won't judge you, like you won't get any criticism back, so you want to, everybody to like you. But think about this, if you're always in giving mode, you're not in receiving mode. And if you really want to attract a life partner, you have to be in receiving mode. Sheer, plain and simple, be in receiving mode. The second mode is like me. So I'm going to describe my track, which I find a lot of people, especially people that follow me, it's the overachiever, I'll take care of myself, I'll be completely self-reliant mode. And a lot of women that go in business for themselves, particularly women that have struggled with dating, that have gotten success in their business because they've taken care of themselves. And if you've been, I don't know, Cindy, were you ever teased for being too emotional or too sensitive at any point? If that's the case, then the last thing you want to be is too needy, right? You don't want to ask somebody for your needs. God forbid they judge you, they criticize you, they tell you you're too needy, and you're realizing it's much safer to take care of everything for yourself. Well, now, again, you're no longer in receiving mode. You're in, oh, nope, I'm insulated. I'm taking care of myself. Nobody can hurt me, right? And so that becomes, and the third mode is literally pushing things out, because people that come to me, I mean, everybody's wired different. So highly sensitive is a real big, vast sort of term. And so being highly sensitive, it can affect people in very different ways. I mean, runs the gamut. My sensitivities are more around smell and noise, but I have people that come to me that are sensitive to trees, they're sensitive to people on the other side of the world, they're sensitive to electricity. I mean, their sensitivities really run the gamut, and the way they're empathic really runs the gamut. And so you find, oh, I don't want that to hurt me. I don't want to take that person's energy. I don't want to take those people's energy. You're in protection mode. So you understand, being protection means keeping things out. Being an overgiver means you're giving and not receiving, and being self-reliant means you're not receiving. So if you find yourself in any one of those three patterns, unless you learn how to take care of yourself, you stop from receiving. And that was one of my biggest hesitations in putting my finger on that send button. Like, oh my God, that leaves me so unprotected and so vulnerable. At least that's what it felt like.
So, Debbie, that is so true to a lot of my clients as well. And not only me, I can totally relate to that story. The minute they say, oh, he has a bad vibe energy, or she has a bad vibe energy, and it sounds like everybody has a bad vibe energy, then you
Yeah,
become a lone wolf. You come beyond your own, you're isolated, and you don't
right.
know how to channel these energy to move it, like how you were saying, just have the flow towards it. And a lot of women have a fear, like being needy. They're like, well, like I'm too sensitive, then I become like lovesick, or like it's like I need somebody to nurture me, but I don't like all this energy around me, so I don't know how to deal with this. This is
Yeah,
extremely overwhelming. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
yeah,
and I get really emotional about it, and then I get bullied about my friends or my family are telling me that I'm too sensitive, and I don't feel cherished at the end of the day or
Yeah.
value.
It's a never-ending cycle that is very challenging, unless you know kind of really how to take care of yourself properly to move forward.
Yeah. So that being said, do you need to tell someone about like you're highly sensitive on a first date? Like a lot of people ask about this question. Like
Yeah.
when is a good topic? When is a good time to talk about this?
Well, first of all, I have sort of a new, over the years, I've really migrated from a feeling of there's something wrong with me and I'm different, like I wish I wasn't born this way, this really sucks, to looking to the sky and going, thank you. I mean, with such gratitude for being wired and born the way I was born. Because I can't imagine doing the work I've done. I've helped thousands and thousands of people individually over the years. I mean, I've been in business now for 24 years. That's a lot of people I've worked with. And I can't imagine if I wasn't wired the way I was, I wouldn't have the kind of compassion, empathy, and also be able to tune in and be intuitive the way I am. And there's also another part, which is being highly sensitive with heightened awareness. There's two sides to your hand, right? With every gift, there's a challenge, and with every challenge, there's a gift. And most people that are highly sensitive walk around only seeing the challenge. They don't see the gift. So I'm saying that particularly in dating, there's a real gift for women, even for men, in that when they're highly sensitive, is that it makes you much more sensual, right? So for me, I have a very, again, a sensitivity to noise. So loud noise really bothers me, big crowds and loud music, and those things bother me. But I listen to music all day long while I'm working, and I'm far more productive because it really soothes my soul. So I listen to really gentle music, and it really helps me flourish. Well, the same thing let's think about this. Men are all about smells. So when you smell good, when you really delve into your sensuality and you're smelling good and you really relish that about yourself, that's a massive turn on for a man. It's a massive turn on. So there are parts about yourself that you can talk about your sensitive nature to a man that makes it not only inviting to him, like going, oh, wow, like that is so attractive, but also allows him to take care of you. So here's what that looks like. It's not you sitting down at a table on the first date, over coffee or whatever, dinner, and you saying, by the way, I want to share something about you. I'm highly sensitive and I'm really sensitive to noise and all that. I mean, most people would hide that. They wouldn't even say that. But what they might do is they might let the guy choose where they go and then start squirming because it's really noisy, really loud. You can't feel a connection with a guy because you can't hear it. All that energy is assaulting you. It's overwhelming you. No, you don't want to do that. Here's what it would sound like. It would be like, the guy says, would you like to go with me? And you say, yes. And he says, and he usually says, where would you like to meet? Now, a lot of women who are highly sensitive, when they take care of everybody else's needs, their response is, where do you want to go? Right? Wrong response. Wrong response. Because a man wants to make you happy, and the only way he can make you happy when he doesn't know anything about you is for you to tell him how to make you happy. So you pick a place that is pleasing to you. It's an environment that you like. It's a place where you feel good in that environment. Maybe it's, nice music, or it's just really very pretty decor, or whatever place works for you that allows you to engage and be more of your authentic self. And then and he says yes, and when you get there, you say, look, I want to share something about myself. Like, these kinds of atmospheres are so awesome. I don't really like noise. I'm a little sensitive to noise. And so I'm so appreciative and grateful to you for taking me here. This makes me feel really happy. Now, do you hear what just happened? You just told him something about your sensitivity, and he's feeling like he's the guy, like he is your hero at that moment, because he did something for you that made you happy. He wasn't going, oh, she hates noises. That's it. Don't want to date her anymore. No. So do you kind of, Cindy, you get that? Like what I'm kind of saying, right?
Yeah, it's totally true because I have gone on dates and the guy's like, well, why don't we go for drinks at the bar? But it's really loud and noisy, right? But
Right.
I prefer having tea, right? And high
Yeah.
tea, that's where he chose. And that was appropriate for that. And I can talk about like being able to hear you, listen to your conversation.
Yeah.
And women do fall in love with their ears and not so much for their eyes, right?
But the thing is that you can actually, on a date, talk about your sensitive nature in a way that says, "Ooh, I love this atmosphere," so talk about what you love that really pleases you.
Yeah.
And then you can, kind of slide in. Yeah, I'm not so partial to these things. You don't have to get right and say I'm highly sensitive, because quite honestly, people that have never heard that term before, that are not highly sensitive themselves. They have a completely, in their mind, they come up with a completely different meaning to it.
Mm.
To them, if you tell a guy, I'm a highly sensitive person, and he has no idea what you're talking about, immediately he goes to, uh-oh, she's sensitive, means she's very emotional. That's his interpretation. So this is a term, first of all, it's relatively new. It's only been coined like 20 years ago. It's just so that people can be recognized who are wired this way. And it means that your brain is wired a little bit differently in the way you perceive your sensitivities, your senses, your 5 senses, and your 6th sense too. So that's all it is. It's not a diagnosis. It's not a disorder. It's not something wrong with you. It's just an explanation. It's like saying, you have brown eyes, you have blue eyes.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just an explanation of how your brain's wired and what that means in terms of how you navigate your life because of it. Just like left-handed people have to navigate their life differently because they're left-handed. They hold things differently. They have different implements. It's no different. And to the outside world that has never heard that term, that doesn't understand it, you trying to explain it doesn't do very well. But especially in dating and getting to know a man, explaining the greatest things about your senses without saying I'm sensitive, but just saying, really, I really enjoy soft music. I really enjoy these awesome smells. I love flowers. I love the burst of color, but I am allergic to certain flowers. So these I have to stay away from. Well, he can think allergies don't mean anything to him. He's like, okay. So what you're doing is you're talking about your needs. You're talking about what you need from this man. And he's like a study, like, okay, thank you. Like, it's like you're basically giving him all the answers to the test. And so he cannot lose, right? So
it's totally true. And you can say things like I have said, say things like I'm introverted, I like quiet time and, and things like that. Those are the things that they can understand. There's extroverts, there's introverts, and you can get into that, discussion. But instead of saying like, oh, I'm like how you were saying, like, I'm highly sensitive, I'm needy, and I don't like this, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Put it into positive things like, oh, I like high tea, I like a quiet place, I like beautiful decor.
Right. Exactly.
I like French music and things like that.
Right. And then you can slip in there the things you don't like that in a correlation. I like high tea because I love the surroundings and it makes me be able to really talk to you and really connect with you. And, loud noises, not my thing. It bothers me. And so not a big deal, So like I said, you can describe the things that you love and then also tell him what you need. When you're describing it, he's basically saying, oh, this is what she needs, and he's all over it. So it actually is kind of good.
That's really amazing. That's a really good tip, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you're watching this. I really want you to make a note of it. I want you to actually comment down below if that's something that you have struggled on a date and how to. Debbie actually lay it out for you right there, what to say and what to do in those situations. So if you're really struggling, definitely tell me about it. Leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So Debbie, just to make a note of what we have talked about, how can you use your highly sensitive to make yourself more attractive to your mate? I love this because we're so sensitive. Our sense of smell, taste is all
Yes.
heightened.